Hello and welcome to Coffee Catch-Ups with me, Tanya Wiley.
And me, Amelia Beaumont.
Coffee Catch-Ups is a Christian podcast all about life in your 20s. We're not scholars or theologians or any of that. We are just two people who love Jesus and want to live for him. And we are in the same room, and this is our Christmas episode. Merry Christmas!
Merry
Woo-hoo!
Christmas. Amazing. How exciting.
I love Christmas.
I'm a child at Christmas.
Are you?
I get so excited. And I'm like, unashamedly, I love the presents.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yes, thank you for what you've given me, and I love it. Just because someone's given me a present, and that's very exciting.
I actually prefer giving presents at Christmas.
Do you?
Yeah.
See, that makes you a better person than me, I think.
Does it? Or, I don't know. It's still about me though, because I've still put the effort and thought into the present, and I love like crafting it all. Yeah, I love
That's
Christmas.
Yeah.
But yes. So, before we carry on with our episode, we're just going to swing right on over to some Christmas-themed Would You Rathers.
Would you rather have a white Christmas or Christmas in the sun?
Okay. Just for clarity, when you say Christmas in the sun, still cool or is it hot?
Oh no, we're talking hot. We're talking like
Australia level.
Australia, going on holiday somewhere very, very sunny and warm and beachy.
And then the other choice is snow.
The other choice is snow. You can only pick one or the other.
Well, I'm going to go sun. I don't like the snow. Controversial opinion alert. Controversial. I do not like snow, which is shocking because everyone loves snow, especially around Christmas.
Yeah.
But I find it gets in the way. It's slippy. It's cold.
Yeah.
And like growing up, like farming and with horses and stuff, it just made everything so inconvenient. So I don't like snow.
Definitely.
And I would really like to experience one of the Australian kind of barbecues on the beach at Christmas. But I don't know if I had to do that for the rest of the time. I think I'd miss cold Christmas. So
yeah, no, fair enough. I would also quite like to experience Australian Christmas and like, you know, have a Christmas dinner on the barbecue type thing. That does sound really good, to be fair.
On the beach and a little swim.
Yes.
And not be freezing. Christmas Day,
So
Boxing Day
nice.
dip would be so much nicer in Australia. Would you rather, if you had to give up one of them for the Christmas period completely, give up hot chocolate or mulled wine?
Oh, that's so hard because I really like both of those things.
Ooh, so for the whole of December.
Oh, man. I feel like probably hot chocolate because mulled wine we tend to only really have it during December as a general rule. Not that I always stick to that because, you know, January can be a nice time for that too. But yeah, I would say hot chocolate because hot chocolate you can have throughout the winter and it can be very, very cozy and comforting. Whereas I feel like if I miss out on the mulled wine during December, I've like partially kind of missed that train a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, but I'm so addicted to hot chocolate. Like, it would be tricky.
It is good. Particularly like a Bailey's hot chocolate.
See, I've never had one of those. I don't shoot me, but I hear really good things about them.
Mate, I will make you a Bailey's hot chocolate. It's genuinely amazing.
Great, sign me up.
Okay, brilliant. That's sorted. So, we are talking about Christmas in this episode. But I mean, sometimes Christmas can be hard, right? It's not always the easiest time of year for everybody.
I love Christmas, but there are some things about Christmas that aren't as easy, that can be difficult, that tend to get ignored because Christmas is a time to be happy and everything's great. Yeah. So we're going to talk about, is it 8 things we've gone for?
Yes, it is 8 things.
8 things that when Christmas is a little bit difficult, and hopefully ways that we can make Christmas a bit more yay. Okay, so the thing that I find really difficult about Christmas, and I'm going to start with a really silly one to start with, is Christmas songs. Christmas songs, they just, again, every year, they play the same Christmas songs again and again and again and again. And they start earlier and earlier, I swear. They get earlier into November. And honestly, that's one of the things I find challenging. I don't enjoy many of them. And yeah, that's my challenge.
That is, yeah. I mean, personally, I love Christmas songs, and I could listen. I only tend to start in December, maybe a little bit before that if I'm feeling especially Christmassy.
Okay.
But yeah, I hear you. So, what is a way to maybe for people who do find that hard, like yourself and unlike myself? And what's a way to make that better?
Well, I think maybe just listen to your own Spotify things. And also, I really enjoy playing Whamageddon.
Oh, I've not heard of this.
Yeah, so Whamageddon is a great game where basically you and a team of people will be like, okay, we're playing Whamageddon. So the last person to hear Wham's Last Christmas wins. So you've got to try and go as long as you can into the Christmas period without hearing Wham.
Oh, sure.
And so it's like last person standing wins. And I got so close to winning once one year, and then when I went to into a shop briefly, it played, and I was like, oh, and I got to like the 18th of December. But normally you don't get that far. Normally you get to like early December, and there you go, boom, you've heard it. It's really hard to go without hearing, and so that's quite fun because it's like it makes it a game, and
yeah, fair enough.
Also, I will just decide to play what is a nice Christmas song. Yeah, I like Oh Holy Night, but not the Mariah Carey version. That's too much sliding up and down. Classical, traditional.
So my difficulty for me is Christmas coffees.
What?
Right? Okay, so like let me clarify. I love Christmas coffees very much, but firstly, I think some of them are a bit outlandish. Secondly, they stop on the 1st of January, and I find that really difficult. Because I'm like, January is such a depressing time in many ways, but it's just made that bit worse by not being able to access the joy that is Christmas coffee.
Can I say how much I'm enjoying how on brand you are for this podcast? It's just talking about coffee again. It's great.
We've got a brand reputation to uphold.
Yes, which I do let down on a regular basis, having given up coffee.
I need a new podcast host. If anybody out there would like to host coffee catch-ups with me, she's gone off brand. Yeah. So
I deserve it. Yeah. I'll just go. Right,
yeah. All right. Bye. To clarify, I love Christmas coffees. I'm a sucker for a Black Forest hot chocolate, as Tanya knows. They're great, but they stop too early, and also they're just expensive.
Yeah, that's my heart bleeds for you, girl. It's really hard.
It's what we call a first world problem.
It really is.
But
so how do you, in that really difficult issue around Christmas, how do you put a positive spin on that? How do you make that easier to deal with?
Well, as for the expense part, what you can do is you can get your own little bottles of syrup. So I've got some hazelnut syrup and some caramel syrup at home. So like during the autumn, as you may know, other brands are available, but we're not sponsored by them. But Costa does a really lovely maple hazel latte.
Okay.
And that is delightful. But again, I don't have the kind of money to be spending on like multiple maple hazel lattes.
Adds up, doesn't it?
So I usually in my hot chocolate, to be fair, because it's better with like a milky drink as opposed to instant coffee. But yeah, bit of hazelnut syrup, bit of caramel syrup in my hot chocolate, and it's delightful.
I mean, that's a lovely practical way to deal with it. I would also say that I think it's possibly a good thing that they're not available for longer, because then you appreciate them when they're around.
You do, but all I'm saying is not forever. I'm just saying just for January or a bit of January, just to make the winter blues slightly less blue.
Okay. You heard it here first.
And make them slightly more red and green.
I'm really enjoying this.
Tanya, what is your next Christmas conundrum for us?
Oh, I eat too much at Christmas. And that's a big problem, is that the snacks, given that we have so many opinions about snacks, but for me, cheese at Christmas, I love cheese. And then I'm just eating so much. And so I feel like any progress that I've done throughout the year of being healthier and better is often falls by the wayside at Christmas. And although I love a treat, and I sometimes find myself found myself eating for the sake of it. Sometimes in that gap between Christmas and New Year, the what I would call the no man's land of time, where you don't really know what day it is and what's happening. I just eat. I don't know about you.
Oh, me too.
I'm just eating.
Just crazy
I'm bored.
all the time. Yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? Because it's so easy to do because there's so much nice food around, and you're like, it's Christmas, I'll let myself off. But there's just so much of it around, and it is also like at Christmas dinner, particularly when everyone else has got their plates piled high with really lovely, lovely food, and it's very easy to do the same thing, even though you know that you're going to feel slightly unwell afterwards.
Yeah, and you have that proper food baby.
Yeah.
So how to make it better? I mean, self-control would be great. But yeah, I think I try and counteract some of it by exercising at Christmas. That makes me feel a bit better. But genuinely trying to listen to my body when it's full.
Yes, that's very important.
Do you know what I mean? And maybe I should be more intentional about, I don't know, what I'm doing in those times when I'm bored and just snacking.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really good.
How would you combat that kind of overeating at Christmas?
I think I think it sounds very psychologically kind of intense, but just kind of like realising what the environmental cues are around you, and just going kind of like, oh, that other person's eating a lot, that's going to make me want to eat more because they're doing that, therefore I'm going to mirror them, but I'm not going to do that because I've recognised that that's a trigger.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
Then bringing it back. But everything that you said, essentially, I think being aware of like what your body's telling you, and because ultimately, like, you don't want to make yourself unwell, and I'm not saying everybody does, because you know, I also overeat at Christmas and I feel generally fine afterwards.
And also a bit of that is okay, you know.
Yeah, you don't need to feel guilty about it at all, but I think if you see that it's an issue for you,
yeah, and then the same with drinking, overeating and over drinking.
Yeah,
is going, well, where are the things that I really struggle with? Like, is if I just eat loads of chocolate, am I going to really struggle to give that up afterwards? If I drink too much, will that continue into the new year? And just having that kind of, okay, I'm going to check in with myself on the 28th and see what's occurring.
So the next one I'm going to talk about a bit more serious. I'm going to talk about money.
Okay.
Money is
a big one.
A really big one at Christmas, isn't it? And as someone who, I'm like, you know, we're very privileged, but I'm not earning like massive wages at the moment. You kind of, I don't know about you, but I get to most Novembers and go, oh man, I don't buy for lots of people, but even still, I buy for about 8 people, including my family. And I just go, oh man, like, how am I going to afford this? Because you want to get something really nice for somebody. And also, you know, if you've got people coming round, you're like, oh, like, I need to get some like mince pies in, or do a fancy charcuterie board because it's Christmas and that's what people do.
Or even your coffees that you were talking about in the earlier one of, well, that's an extra expense I might not normally have. And then let alone, you know, life, you know, in the winter, we've got higher heating costs, and over the last few years, it's been really, really expensive. And then let alone, you know, something happens with your vehicle, if you've got a car or something like that, you know, they tend to, I find in my experience, they tend to break down more in the winter than they do in the summer. And if that just happens to fall at the same time, like, Christmas is expensive, and the way it's been commercialised is. And I think particularly when you've got small children that are perhaps expecting Santa to deliver presents, and if they don't get the present they want, have they been are they on the naughty list? Have they been bad? And so sometimes there's like problematic stuff. I remember last year working at a Christmas theatre production where it was immersive, so we would talk with some of the kids, and you know, and generally you'll go to question them, and I was like, well, what do you want for Christmas? And we were actually told by the company we work for to stop asking what children want for Christmas, because often it's something like, I don't know, a Nintendo Switch or something really expensive that they really want, or, you know, classic, a pony. And
obviously.
They're just, and they're just not going to be able to have that because of, like, you never know what the circumstances of the parent are.
Yeah, that's so true, actually.
We just ruined that Santa's not real then.
Spoilers. Yikes, sorry guys.
So I think it's a huge one, and I think it causes a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry for people.
Yeah, definitely. But I think in terms of how to combat that, like, so it's not easy. It's not easy. No. Let's just, put that out there as a statement. But something that I've tried to do is I try to buy over a few months.
Yeah.
So like I'll start maybe even sometimes September and go, okay, what do I want to get people for Christmas? Again, I only buy for quite a select group of people. And just go, right, I'm going to start looking now, so that you spread the cost. I think sometimes you have to just sit down with yourself and go, do I need to buy these things? Because again, like I spoke before about like environmental triggers and stuff, it's really easy to see other people around you buying this and buying that. And particularly also if somebody is getting you a gift and you're like, oh, I don't know what they're going to get me. It's like in Friends when they try and like look around Monica's flat and like try and find the gift so that they can like match the effort. Like, oh, I think they're going to get me something really nice and I can't quite afford that this year. Like, firstly, like, do I need to buy for this person? Secondly, actually, like, am I able to have a conversation with that person? If I do want to buy them a gift and say, hey, I would love to get you a Christmas gift, but actually this year, I'm not going to be able to do something big. Like, maybe you could agree to not do gifts, or you could agree to go really small, or say, hey, how about in a couple months' time, I take you out and we do this and we do that, or do something nice together.
Yeah, because ultimately, the people that you love aren't going to care about what gift you get them. They're not going to want you to be in financial difficulty because they need a Christmas gift. And I think this goes for all the kind of things around Christmas, all the extra things that are expected of us. How necessary are they, really? What is the crux of what you value at Christmas? And I think for us, I speak for myself, but it's about Jesus. It's about celebrating the birth of Jesus. And also it's about, if you can, getting together with your family and spending time. And that's quite nice. So all the other stuff, is it really essential? How much does it matter? And so dialing it down, your expectation of what's important is really, really important. Excuse the double importance there. And I think there's no one in my life who, if they came to me and were like, I'm really struggling financially, I can't get you a gift, there's no one I would be like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah, it's
there's
like,
no one.
Well, do it anyway, kind of thing. Get yourself into debt. Yeah,
but because money is a subject that we sometimes really struggle to be honest and open about, because it's maybe feel a bit shame of it, or go, oh, they're going to judge me, they're going to think I'm not doing so well, are they going to think I'm begging for money or something? There's something about it, particularly being British, that we don't really talk about, especially when it's not going well.
So true.
But actually, with the people you love, just going, hey, I'm struggling this year for money. Difficulty with children is, I think, sometimes I think you can probably still have that conversation with your children and then come about ways to deal with it. Ultimately, as a kid, I didn't really remember the presents, but I remembered the family time and so, what can you give your children that doesn't require money?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going back to the food thing as well, like obviously we spend a lot on like party food. See what you can make at home. Like there are so many lovely recipes, like particularly if you just scroll on social media, of things that you can make at home. You do not have to go out and buy these things like ready-made. Like I know obviously people get very busy around Christmas, but actually there are lots of things you can make yourself, which is going to be cheaper. And
I wonder if you are one of these very blessed people who've got more than you need at Christmas, then challenge, bless other people who might be struggling at Christmas, give gifts to people. And I love Christmas because it's such a gift giving time of year anyway, but how can you be like, oh, hey, I know you're having a difficult time, here's like a gift, you don't have to get me one back, in fact please don't, and stuff like that, but this is for you and whatever, and stuff like that. We can all be a team.
Absolutely.
Your own money issue.
Absolutely. I love that.
One that's close to my heart this year, because this is certain people work on Christmas.
Really tough.
I mean, I grew up, my mum often worked Christmas Day. She's a nurse, so nurses and doctors, they have to. The farming community, they have to. Their animals still need feeding. And I, this year, I'm performing at Christmas. So I can't come down and spend it with my family. So it's challenging, because what you would normally do at Christmas when everyone's having a lovely time, or, well, not everyone, but when it appears that everyone's having a lovely time with their family and you're at work, it sucks. It sucks. And I think for me, I'm working the whole Christmas period, so I'm not even going to be down to see my family until the new year. So it makes me sad thinking about it. I'm sure I might feel a little bit sad on the day. And there's a lot, and it happens to more people than you realise.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of people that now have to work Christmas, and I think because obviously our society has gotten very multicultural as well. There's lots of different faiths and a lot of people who don't celebrate Christmas.
Yeah,
and so there is more, as society has gotten more diverse. There's a lot of stuff happening for people who don't celebrate Christmas at all, and therefore more people have to work. And like my sister works in hospitality, like you know, she rarely gets Christmas off, and sometimes we just kind of have to like rearrange things, and it's not easy, but we do.
We used to do that when Mum would work Christmas Day. We would move our Christmas Day to another day.
Yes.
And actually that's really great fun, because if you forget anything in your cooking, you can go to the shop. It's great. But also, so it would be really nice. We'd just go, well, this day, it's not Christmas Day, but this is our Christmas Day. And that was always really special. I really enjoyed those days. So if you can move your Christmas Day if you're working, boom, bosh.
Absolutely. And it might mean you sort of get double Christmas as well, because last year my sister did work Christmas Day, and so we had our Christmas Day on the 28th. So we like went to church in the morning, still like had quite a nice afternoon, like, you know, just kind of chilled out, did some nice stuff on Boxing Day as well, and then had family Christmas Day a couple of days later. It was great.
One of the things I quite enjoy about Christmas Day, working Christmas Day, is there's usually a really nice atmosphere, because although people don't want to be there for Christmas Day, it's still Christmas Day, so everyone's like, Merry Christmas, and you usually do like a couple of things, maybe with snacks or whatever, and I always quite like that, and if that's not happening in your place of work, then you need to bring that energy.
Absolutely. Be
like, we're working Christmas Day, but woohoo, amazing. I mean, I'm managing a team this year, and I think some of my team will probably end up working Christmas Day with me, and so I'm going to bring them snacks and like bring them little Christmas cards, and be like the energy that hopefully gives people joy on this day, even though they're working.
I love that. That's really cool. So the next one we're going to talk about, maybe a bit more of a deep one again, loneliness.
Yeah, big one.
Really, really hard at Christmas. Have you ever felt lonely at Christmas?
Oh yeah. I think for me, it can often come. I think particularly being single can be you can be acutely aware of it at Christmas when everyone's sort of, you know, coupling up. And so that can feel quite lonely. And then I know for many, when you lose someone that you love, Christmas is a time of year where you are very aware of that grief, because it would have possibly been a time when you got together. So feeling lonely at Christmas is a huge thing. Yeah, that is not spoken about very much. What about you? Have you experienced loneliness at Christmas?
Yeah, massively. And I think as much as I've been very fortunate, like my family and I get on very well, and we tend to spend Christmases, like I spend them with my parents and my sister, and my parents are also very good at inviting people who are generally by themselves at Christmas around, and so particularly in previous years, we have had quite a lot of people around the table, which has been really lovely.
Wow. This very table we are at now.
This very table. We're
in Amelia's house, our parents' house.
We're using my parents' house. They've been very kind in letting us crash for various reasons. But and it's been really lovely. But actually, I think what you were saying about singleness has been the hardest thing for me, because I've been perpetually single, and therefore every Christmas is just like, oh man, like I really wish that I had somebody, and it's really hard.
Why does Christmas make that more obvious, do you think?
That's a good question. I feel like partially because we watch a lot of rom-coms. I don't know about you. I am a sucker for
Love
the holiday.
Actually and the holiday.
Oh, so good.
We've already wrapped the holiday on this podcast.
We've already wrapped the holiday.
We should probably wrap Love Actually is a great film as well.
It is.
Love it.
Other Christmas films are available. But yeah, like so many rom-coms, but also just it's like cozy season, but like turned up a notch because it's all festive as well, and like everyone's like, be with the ones you love, and like all of this stuff, and that's lovely, and that absolutely obviously applies to like platonic and family love as well. But yeah, I don't know, there's just something about the Christmas season that just makes you want to be with somebody. And when you're single, that is really hard.
It is really hard, and I think particularly what I'm experiencing in my family this year is my brother got married this year, and so what you have as the sibling who's not married is that you do every Christmas, although I'm not this year because of work, but every Christmas with your parents. That would have normally been the four of you. Well, I've got a family of four, but then what married couples often do is they will often do take different turns with different families. And then sometimes have one to themselves. So and then they tend to do that, and so you have a change of dynamic. I was acutely aware that I'm single because suddenly I now have a Christmas where I am the only child now, where I didn't used to be. And so that's kind of the awareness of it. And then I think because you've got time off where you're thinking, you're less doing. I can't really put my finger on one reason why it's difficult to be single at Christmas, but it is. And that's, the same as well, and probably even more lonely when you have lost your partner. I mean, that's got to be hard, sure. Which we don't know, but absolutely could resonate with the fact that must be incredibly painful. And a lot of my friends, when they've lost parents, their first Christmas and then subsequent Christmases are really hard.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and there's no way around that. It is just can be just really hard.
Yeah.
But if we were to say when you're feeling lonely, what do you first of all, what do you do when you're feeling lonely at Christmas that you think helps?
I think one thing that I always try to make a point of, and I'm sure I've mentioned it on the podcast before, is counting my blessings. And going actually like, okay, sure, I'm not with a partner at this point, but I have my parents here. I've got my sister around. I've got all of these lovely gifts because we're privileged enough to be able to do gifts and stuff for each other. That's nice. And some lovely food around, and actually just trying to think about the good things about the season. But it is difficult, and I think actually going, okay, it's hard being single, but what are the good things about being single? There are great things about being single, as we talked about before on the podcast, and I'm sure we'll talk about again. And also in terms of friends, if you're not feeling particularly lonely because of being single, that's great. But also, sometimes your friends are travelling to see their parents, and they're not around, and they're with their families and doing different things, which is all great for them, but they're not around, and you want them to be, particularly if you also don't have family. And so, again, actually going, right, okay, what can I do which is going to make me happy at this point, and like, how do I want to spend my Christmas in the circumstances that I'm currently in? How can I make the best of this situation? Yeah,
it's tricky, but I think you do have to do that. You have to go, well, this is what's happening. Because you could be, you can experience lots of different circumstances where you might be on your own at Christmas. You might not have good relationships with your family, and so and also you might have lost them, or you might be in a different country. Some of my housemates are from New Zealand, and they can't afford to go all the way back to New Zealand just for Christmas and then come back. So it's a real. You're not the only one. I think probably you're not the only one who's feeling lonely. And there can be a very consuming thing about loneliness, can't there? That you think about it and you sit in it and you're like, I'm so lonely. And as hard as it is, being proactive and going, well, what do I have control of? I don't have control over the fact that I've lost someone who I loved. I don't have the control over I'm in a different country and I'm alone at Christmas. Maybe I don't have control over it. But maybe I can be proactive in some things and find out who else that you know that's also alone this Christmas. Maybe you can buddy up and you can do something, even if it's just for the evening or for the morning or whatever it is. You know, get to church in the morning.
Yeah, totally.
Get to church. Church is such a full of life place to be at Christmas. And yes, there are lots of families around and it may feel very difficult to sit there alone. But still, you know, God sees you and he loves you and he is with you. And then I remember I spent Christmas alone in 2020 and I decided I would go for a really long cycle and then drink lots of Prosecco with my housemate. Maybe don't do that. But
great fun.
And we ordered Chinese. It was actually great. And,
so good.
And although it was not what I envisaged or perhaps not what perhaps I wanted, but actually I loved it. It was great. It was something that I enjoyed and I was like, well, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, that's really nice. I love that.
And so hopefully that combats it. But I also think to people who are listening and they go, okay, that's great, but I'm feeling very happy this Christmas. I'm not feeling lonely. I bet you know someone who is. I bet you know someone who's grieving this year, or it's not even has to be the first year. It can be the second or third or fourth, you know, or people who are lonely or are working or whatever, you know, check in on them. And we as Christians, we are a family. So as much as you might not want to invite someone to join your family Christmas, what would Jesus do? Would he just be like, this is my family, just for me? This is my family. Because it is annoying, because you do want to, like, I remember one year we invited one of our neighbours who was a bit lonely, and I remember, in the back of my head I was thinking, oh, I wish it was just me and my family. But come on. We're people of faith.
Yes, absolutely.
Invite people.
Amen.
and put the word out in your church. If people are, you know, not feeling that they can say, look, I don't have anyone to be with, it's quite, you know, it might feel a bit shameful, you don't really want to come forward. You know, if you've got family, if you've got a little bit of extra food, invite people over for your Christmas dinner. Come on. We're the church family and we best be a family.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen, sister. Amen.
Because we've just talked about loneliness, but on the flip side of that, there can be a challenge of spending a lot of time sometimes with family, with people that perhaps can be difficult. Like, you may be blessed enough to just love every second that you're with your family and the people that you've got to be around at Christmas. But there are a lot of people who there are challenging moments with family, with friends at Christmas. And how to maintain your patience and your grace and not get annoyed and try and skip out on the family drama, maybe the political conversations that go awry.
Yes.
We all know it happens. And so for some people, being with your family can be a deep breath into the space. Can I survive this?
Yes, for sure. It can be tricky. And again, like I said, I'm very fortunate to get on with my family, but we've had our tiffs. We've had our arguments. And actually, you know, I think because there's so much pressure around Christmas it has to be perfect. It has to go smoothly. Like, all of the food has to come out at the same time and nothing can get burnt. And, like, you know, all of this, and like, oh, what if they don't like my presents, or they made a face when they opened my present and actually I didn't like that and that's not okay, or they said something and actually this is supposed to be a nice time and I don't like that they said that thing. It can be really, really difficult. But I think one of the really important things to remember is, again, firstly, actually, like, genuinely, it sounds really cheesy, take a breath. Like, just be like, hey, actually, I'm going to count to 10. And maybe I need to do that a few times. Maybe I need to count to 50. But it's actually really important because you can stop so many of these conflicts, and actually also just remaining gentle with people, just being like, hey, okay, I would have preferred that we didn't do it this way, or maybe even having those conversations before Christmas and saying, hey, actually, like, maybe sometimes when we play Monopoly together, I feel like it gets a bit too competitive and someone gets angry. This has genuinely happened to my family.
I can sense
gets
that
angry
in the room.
And so actually, like, maybe we don't play that this year. Maybe we play something else.
Board games are a source of contention,
They
aren't they?
are.
Source of
They
contention.
are. It's so true.
Yeah,
so
I think
true.
I think a lot can be said for sort of having conversations before, and going, hey, this year maybe we could do this instead of this, or maybe I think it'd be great if we could not talk about this particular area.
Yeah, for sure.
Could we not? I think this year, big wallaby. Can we not talk about politics? Like, things like that. Let's keep it. Let's do what we can to keep the peace. And also, I wonder, like, as people of faith, as Christians, especially if you're dealing with anyone who is not a Christian, what a fantastic opportunity to be a light, to be patient, to have grace, to show and practice your self-control and all of these fruits of the Spirit that we talk about all year round. Yes, your family can be the people that irritate you the most on the planet because you feel most comfortable with them, and so you'll say things that you regret, but actually we need to do better as people of faith.
So true. It's actually, what would Jesus do in this situation? And again, it's not always easy. Take a breath.
Yeah.
But it's so possible.
On take a breath as well, actually, if you know that spending such a long period of time with your family is really challenging, carve in some moments where you can take yourself for a little walk, take yourself for some me time, putting your boundaries and going, hey, it's been so lovely hanging out with you, but I'm just going to go take a walk, or what I need now is just need a little bit of rest. And maybe in your head before going into these, how do you put the boundaries in place gently and kindly that don't leave people offended, that also protect what you need? If you're an introvert and all this socializing is absolutely exhausting, how can what have you got a few tricks up your sleeve of things to say to people when you need your space alone? It's like, oh, I love this, but you know what? I need 5 minutes. Yeah. Or,
I need to go scream into a cushion.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Oh. Yeah.
No, so true, so true. I think all of that is really, really important.
Yeah, and I think with your family and with people you're hanging out with that are difficult, let's go in with. I'm going to go in intentionally with 5 ways I can bless you this Christmas, irregardless of whether you are kind to me or not.
Yes, that's really important. Actually, again, it's
challenging.
This is how I'm going to be, and the circumstances are not going to dictate any of that. I'm going to go in again, like, what would Jesus do in this situation, and that is what I'm going to aim to do as well.
Love it.
And again, just like pray in that moment, like, Lord, I don't know how to deal with this, help me. And he does. He does.
And that's what we're talking about. When we talk about peace beyond understanding, we're also talking about this in Christmas. We're celebrating the birth of the Prince of Peace.
Yes, come on.
So remember why you're there. Why you're there. You're there because of Jesus. And so, if you know Jesus, you have peace beyond understanding. You can walk into any space, no matter what someone says to you, even if they know exactly how to push your buttons. Prince of Peace. Prince of Peace. God, give me grace. God, give me grace. God, give me grace.
My final issue about Christmas is stress. Stress.
Which ties up all of these things that we've been talking about, I think.
Yes, absolutely. It can be a very stressful time.
Do you get stressed at Christmas?
I try not to, and generally I'm pretty good at not getting stressed, but it is in itself could just be a stressful time. I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got so much to do. I quite like writing Christmas cards, but then it's like, I've got to get these out now, and it's like, then I feel like I write them and then it feels like they're going out too late, and I'm like, by the time I take the ones to church that I need to take to church, half the people have left for Christmas already, and I'm like, well, they can have it in January if they want to, and I just wasted a card.
It's funny that you mentioned Christmas cards, because it is the one thing massively that stresses my mum out, like big time. Sure. So much so that she's given it to Dad as his job at Christmas now, especially now he's retired. She's like, this is your job. Yeah. My mum finds Christmas really stressful, really stressful, to the point where I genuinely say to her now, I was like, why are you doing it? Like, do you need to send people Christmas cards? You actually don't. Like, you might enjoy it and you might love it and it's a lovely thing to get, but you don't need to. You don't need to cook a really fancy Christmas dinner. You could just get frozen pizzas and put them in the oven. It's fine. Like, nothing, the world is not going to stop if you don't make the world's best Christmas dinner. You don't need to buy everybody a present on time. They will understand. Like, if it's causing you distress and literally, my mum gets so riled up to the point where she does not enjoy Christmas. She finds it an unenjoyable thing.
That's really sad.
It's really sad. Christians, there's a lot of extra services at Christmas, isn't there? So there's a lot of extra serving that you might do.
Yeah, so true.
I've got to do this and I've got to do this and I've got to serve at that. You take time to enjoy it as well. Like, you don't have to stress yourself out. You actually don't have to do it.
Yeah, genuinely. And I think that's the key, isn't it? It's actually like, again, similar to what we've kind of said before, but actually like, what do I need to do here?
Yeah.
And actually, okay, I've been asked to do this, this, and this. Whether that's in church, whether that's by family, whether that's expectations that you've put on yourself or that you feel other people are putting on you. It's like, what do I actually need to do? And what you need to do at Christmas is turn around and go, thank you, Jesus. Like, because the fact is, the reason we are celebrating is because he gave up his place in heaven, came to earth as a baby. Like, imagine being God, but as in the body of a helpless infant.
I know, like, stable.
That must have been kind of frustrating. Do you not think? It's like, I am the all-powerful God, and yet my body, human body, is like, I don't want to say constricting because Jesus can do all things, and I'm sure he could have done. But like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like,
absolutely. I mean,
he chose to go through childhood.
Yeah,
and the teenage
years. Puberty, my days,
man.
But what's fascinating is the ultimate contradiction is that Jesus was human and God. So it's baffling, and you never really understand it. He experienced exactly what it's like to be a human whilst also being God.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, and so like what we should be doing is turning around and go, thank you, Jesus, for doing that. And ultimately, Christmas leads to Easter. Like, he came to earth as a baby and then died for us.
Amen.
Like, that's amazing. And so we should be really thankful. So actually, like, if you are finding that you have certain things that are distracting you from that, okay, Lord, like, help me refocus here. And actually, you will find that so much of the stress does dissipate. And I think as well, like, just in terms of like the practical stuff, plan ahead as much as you can. I'm a planner. I love my lists. I love my lists. And I was listening to a sermon the other day, and the guy was saying that he also loved lists, and he was like, if I made a list of all the things that I loved, lists would be at the top. I was like, that's hilarious. So I love that. It is kind of me.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the list will be at the top, but they'll probably be on there. But like, plan ahead if you can, and just, like, break down the task. What do I need to do at different points? And that will hopefully help you a bit more. But also, things like just putting in place boundaries. We've talked about people pleasing on the podcast before, and Christmas can also be a very people pleasy kind of time. They
can be. And again, I said it before, but dial it down if you need to. Like, it doesn't matter. A lot of the Christmas stuff doesn't matter. What is great about Christmas is just Jesus, and we say it all the time, but that is it. And I occasionally come across people who are like, oh, Christmas comes from the pagan stuff. I'm like, I don't care, because do you know what? Hijack Christmas for Jesus, absolutely. If you think it's too commercial, you've got a point. If you think it stems from paganism, you've got a point. But what an opportunity. Christmas is an opportunity. People are way more open to coming to church. They love a carol service. If you can put in an amazing, truthful, Holy Spirit-filled message in the middle of that carol service, in the middle of all that tradition, it's about Jesus. And what an opportunity for us as Christians. Lay aside the stress and the getting Christmas right and put into it, actually, I could evangelise here.
Yeah.
I can show love to people. I can show people Jesus. I can give, and then people will see, oh, why are you giving this to me? Because I give it to you also in January and February and March.
Yes.
And that's the difference.
Good.
We all give, a lot of people give at Christmas. Christians should carry on. But you can bring the conversation to Jesus at Christmas.
Good.
And that's what I love about Christmas. And if you find Christmas difficult, just maybe forget about all the other stuff and just go, oh, it's an evangelism opportunity.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
And that's all it
true.
needs to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I want to go and evangelise. Let's go.
Let's go.
To Christmas
Right, bye.
services. Okay, bye. You go that way, I'll go that way. Okay, bye. Thank you for listening to Coffee Catch-Ups. We'll be back again soon. Over to Amelia for the social media content.
Yeah, so if you have enjoyed Coffee Catch-Ups, that's great. We love that. So you can find us on Coffee Catch-Ups podcast on Facebook.
Yeah.
At coffee_catch-ups on Instagram and TikTok. And then if you want to email us, you can do that on coffeecatchupspodcast@gmail.com. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Have a good year.